had my issues throughout life. So we have this quote that I repeat every single day. Episode. My last question is, if you could put a billboard anywhere in New York City, what would it say?
Episode 8. I can't even believe it. We're almost in double digits. When Roger, how long ago did we meet?
About 4 months.
I remember. I think you and I spoke and we talked about the vision, and then you were leaving for this 3-week trip to Mexico City, and so that was 4 months ago, and now we're on episode 8. It's fucking incredible.
Insane.
How that works. Going right now to Contractor Nation to interview the man, the myth, the legend, Larry Janesky. Larry became part owners in the Junk Luggers probably 5 years ago by this point, and this man does it all. Entrepreneur, businessman, inventor, author. He has this amazing program that I graduated from called School of Entrepreneurship. Holds 30 patents. I think everyone's going to really enjoy hearing about Larry, probably because you've seen his face. His hundreds of trucks all around Connecticut and the metro area, but also because he's literally, when you think of an entrepreneur, this is what I think of. He started at 17 years old. Someone took a chance on him and he built a house, and he hasn't stopped really since then. And it's like, I feel like when you think of someone even like myself, everyone always asks me, how do I manage to do Junk Luggers Remix, podcast, family, everything? Then you see someone like Larry, he's got his hands in like 20 businesses right now. It's just amazing, and I'm excited to hear how he manages all of the brain power that it takes to ultimately be successful and have so many successful businesses. And his favorite way of communicating is sitting down in person, which is why I was so excited to get him, because I feel like this kind of platform is going to introduce Larry to a lot of people that would probably have never known how successful this man was without this podcast. So I'm excited to sit down with you, Larry. I personally don't know him very well, so I'm excited to see how it goes. The only way we're going to hustle and keep hustling and getting some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world on this podcast is by engagement. Just give us that like, give us that subscribe, give us a comment, and ultimately, don't forget, this is the people's podcast. We are doing this for the people. We have no sort of incentive to do this. No one's paying us to do this. We're spending our own Lug Life money on it, but we want to be known as a platform that can help someone who wants to make a change and they're staying up at night and they can't figure out how to be different than others. A way to hear how people were successful and scared and made a shit ton of mistakes, but ultimately became these super successful entrepreneurs. So this is for the people. Don't forget that.
Hey, Zach.
Hey, good to see the full parking lot. Didn't see that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here with the man, the myth, the legend, Larry Janesky. We are lucky enough to be in Larry's campus today. Episode 8 of the Lug Life podcast. I think one of the most interesting parts of Larry is you might not even know who he is. And or you live in Connecticut and you've seen his trucks everywhere. That's what I think is one of the most incredible things of you as an entrepreneur is social media is not how you receive this instant gratification. A lot of the gratification I see is your interactions with your employees. So for people that don't know you, who is Larry Janesky?
Well, today I have about 32 companies that I either own or partner in. And my job is to help contractors succeed. That's what I do every day. We have 450 employees here in Connecticut under Connecticut Basement Systems. That's the brand that most people know us by.
Yep.
And all things basement tea. And that's what most people know me as, but they know less of the bigger part of our business, which is helping contractors succeed. We have dealer networks, or in Junk Luggers' case,
Yep.
I'm involved with Junk Luggers as our only franchise. But most of our companies are dealer networks where we're involved in basement waterproofing, crawl space repair, basement finishing, foundation repair, roofing, gutters, home energy conservation, insulation and air sealing and such. And we have a big internet marketing group called the Treehouse Marketing Group. We own many of our dealers. So we own 24 dealers in 18, 20 states, from Indianapolis to Maine to Florida.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So when you think about everything you do on a day-to-day basis, right? You're an entrepreneur, a businessman, you're an inventor, you're an author, trying to remember everything, you're a trainer. Is there anything that stands out to you that is what you're the most passionate about?
I like to bring simplicity to chaos, and I think when you do that, simplicity scales. Complexity does not scale. So you've got to keep it simple. And I've gone into industries that seem to be complicated, and just my brain doesn't digest complexity. So I start to look at, what's the key benefit that the customer is looking for? What are the key things that we have to focus on to get there? You look at many businesses are just overcomplicated by the way things always have been done, or maybe it's bureaucracy, government bureaucracy, regulation, or whatever. And just try to simplify it so that the average person can do it, because we all like to hire superstars, but the fact is that most people are regular people.
Yeah.
And you want to get extraordinary results out of ordinary people, so you've got to keep it simple.
Absolutely. On the way here, we took an Uber from New York City, and I was talking to Roger, and I was like, think about this. Like, in the last 10 years, instead of having to call a cab or dial 7 or whatever the case is, and then be worried if the cab driver was going to show up, now we just press a button, agree upon a price, and we're in someone's Uber driving us here, and we're here in an hour. And I feel like that's really what you're doing, right? You're taking these industries that have been around forever, and you're trying to make it so it's available to the general customer, to the general person that lives.
Well, in my business, there's a I guess if you identify the key problem, what's the key problem? So the key problem that cuts across all home services, home repair, is that the owner of such a business typically got a job when he was younger working for somebody who does this work.
Yep.
And one day he decided to open his own business, okay? And now he promotes himself to a level of incompetence. I knew how to swing a hammer or whatever I did, and now I am a leader. And if I don't do the leadership job right, I become my own worst enemy.
Of course.
So they don't know anything about marketing. They don't know anything about hiring. They don't know anything about training. They don't know anything about salesmanship, about accounting. They just know how to do the work. But when you start a business, you say, I will do anything to make this business succeed. I will work as hard as I have to, as many hours as I have to, and that's great when you're one of two people.
Of course.
But we have a saying in our School of Entrepreneurship, which I created, you don't scale. So one person, even me, I don't scale. I have 24 hours in a day like everyone else. I gotta sleep, I gotta eat, I gotta shower, I gotta, you've got your family, which typically that's what suffers, right? When the entrepreneur says, man, I got problems at work, I gotta make payroll, right? They're working like, 13 hours a day, and then, and you wind up, you don't know your kids, and your wife is not happy, and and ultimately you can't be happy, right? So we teach entrepreneurs, or contractors in particular, how to be the leaders that they need to be to accomplish their goals without destroying their lives. And there's a lot of elements to that, but that's
absolutely. And for someone who graduated from your School of Entrepreneurship, I could tell you that it's so relevant to my life. So many things that I heard you say, I've heard in the past, but not in the context of I'm living it in the moment, right? And I think that's part of this podcast, is trying to break down this idea of entrepreneurship and show someone where to even start, how someone got from point A to where you are now. You started off your entrepreneurship journey at 17, and someone took a chance on you, right, to build a house.
Yes. Well, so, I grew up like, most of us didn't have any money, right? We were living in an apartment, second floor of a 3-family house in Bridgeport, and my stepfather was an alcoholic, and couldn't keep a job, and my mother's working 2-3 jobs, and early on I was a straight A student in school. It's just God blessed me with whatever makes that happen, and I realized when I did good, like that would be a bright spot in my mother's life, right? And because my stepfather was it was just a hard time, alcoholism, we know these things, right? So but I got it in my head that I don't want to be part of the problem, I want to be the solution.
Wow. And what age was this?
Very early. So if I wanted a bicycle, I had to go out and work to get money to buy the bicycle. And I did that, and it's a funny story. A week later, the bicycle was stolen. So, but I had paper routes. I remember 8 years old, I had a comic book, and it said "sell burpee seeds" in the back. So I sent away for burpee seeds, and you buy them for whatever it was, 30 cents a pack, and you sell them for 80 cents a pack. I don't know what it was. And 8 years old, ding dong, do you want to buy some seeds from me? And sure, and I went around the block, and I was out of seeds. I had to reorder. I was like, something here.
Yeah.
And you can make your own money. And I remember that lesson, and many years later, we lived in a nice neighborhood, in a nice house, and my son was, I don't know, 8, 9, and I said, we're going to go out and make some money. And we bought batteries, 9-volt, AA, AAA, DC, whatever, okay? And we're loaded down with all these batteries. We bought them, from Sam's Club or wherever, right? And we go door to door, and I made him walk up to the door, ring the doorbell, and he's so shy and introverted. I'm introverted, but he's really introverted. And he just wrote a sign out, would you like to buy some batteries? And he had the prices, AA, this many, cents. And did we need the money? No. But I wanted him to try to learn the lesson that I had learned, that you don't have to wait. You're not helpless. You're not a victim. There's no lack in the world, right? There's no scarcity. There's abundance. You just got to go out and get it. And when I graduated high school, college was never talked about in my family. No one in my family tree ever went to college. And so it was like, go to work. And I already had been jobs in high school and everything. So I put an ad in the paper, carpentry, call Larry, no job too small. And so every time I got a job, I went out to look at it, and I didn't know how to do that. But I knew that I could learn.
This is pre-YouTube too.
Yeah. And so what I would do is I would go to the lumber yard, and there was a guy behind the counter, crusty old guy, and he took a liking to me, and I would say, how do I do this? And he said, well, Sonny, you use this trowel and these fasteners, and you get this, cement board, and you put the tile on like this, and okay. And I go to the job and I do it, So I was also in Boy Scouts. That's a very important part of the story. Yeah. So I became an Eagle Scout, and I had 56 merit badges. So what's the significance of that? Well, these merit badges have all these different
accomplishments.
It's archery, it's environmental science, it's safety, it's communication, it's public speaking. And so through that, I learned, hey, I could take on a new subject that I don't know anything about, right? This is a very important lesson for kids to know. And so, I'm sure that had something to do with, when the lady calls and says, well, I got a front door, I got a big side light on each side, it's 9 foot long, can you replace it for me? And she's on this, uppity house, some nice house in a nice town. And I'm like, 18, I'm like, yeah.
Why not?
No, I may have not priced it well, and I may not have made very much money, but I remember New Year's Eve, December 31st, 1982 was the first day I made $100 in a day. Wow. And that's what I did. I replaced a 9-foot front door.
For $100.
The labor part was 100, right? And that's what I had to do. But I was like high as a kite. I was so excited. I made $100 in a day. And but you just keep moving forward that way, taking stuff on that you are unqualified for.
And then you basically, that's when you started Connecticut-based businesses, correct?
Well, I continued my career. You touched on it before. When I was 18 years old, I got a call that says, "Can you build a house for me?" Mm-hmm. Of course, my answer was, "Yeah." And so I wound up building this house with my right-hand man on the job was 17. I was 18, and my younger brother was 14 on summer vacation from high school. You can't make this up, but we built this house in 6 weeks, framed it, roofed, sided it, decks, windows and doors in 6 weeks. Didn't leave, worked all day long, and it was the building boom. And when there's a shortage of something, it could be an opportunity, right? Like there's a shortage of labor right now. Yep. So whoever has the labor can command the market. And so what do I got to do to get the labor? If I have to raise my prices and pay people more or make an incentive program for them to perform well or to stay or whatever, let the people pay for it. That's what they want, right? So anyway, the real carpenters were busy, so they got down to me, right? Oh, God, I can't get anybody to do this job for 6 months. This kid is available now. Okay, he gets the shot, So I built 23 houses over the next 5 years, and I was spec building, buying the lot, and going to the bank, building a mortgage by the end. And the last house that I built was right when the bubble was collapsing in 1987. So I sold the last house 3 times to get it to stick, because nobody can get credit. Right. And I said, I can't build any more houses. So the last house I built had a crack in the foundation that was leaking, and so I had to figure out how to fix it. And I thought, well, here's an area I might be able to make a mark, basement waterproofing. And that's how I started.
Which is like the most high demand service in Connecticut based upon how much weather and...
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we have very high market share. We did $45.5 million in our local service business last year. But, at the time, the biggest company in basement waterproofing was like, $2-3 million, wow. And it's a niche business. It's a real niche, when it's dry, there's not a lot of business around. Nobody's calling, but we figured it out, we figured out to expand the average ticket by redefining or coming to a really good understanding of what people were really asking for. Yeah. So our competitors were doing like drains and sump pump. And we said, they don't want drains and a sump pump. What they really want is dry usable space. Now, what do we have to do to get them dry usable space? So we're asking different questions, right? And nobody ever asked the customer what they really wanted. They just assume they called me here for a leak, I'm going to fix the leak. But if you ask better questions, you get more complete answers and say, so now it involves a different kind of sump pump, one that will never fail, a different kind of drain system. It involves wall paneling, it involves dehumidification, it involves window well systems, it involves wall, all kinds of flooring, all kinds of things, basement finishing. So I think, you can take one business and by asking different questions, say, what else does that customer want? What else do they use? Do they want to buy 2 or 3 things from one place instead of 2 or 3 places? And all these questions lead to new business models, and you could, beat your competition that way.
Of course. So then you create this niche in the market, right? And I feel like most people would have stopped there. But then you start seeing this opportunity, correct? Where if I can create this niche in Connecticut, why not create this dealer network all around the country?
Yeah. So this was interesting. So the way I got the idea for a dealer network was I was involved in one.
Oh.
So the first 2.5 years I was a dealer for another company.
I didn't realize.
And their products were bad, their training was bad, their leadership was bad, and nothing was really good. But I started becoming a dealer for them because I knew nothing. I was naive. And a real waterproofing contractor would never become a dealer for them, right? They're just taking naive people and saying, we'll get you in this business. So when they sort of, were falling apart and they wanted to sell their business, and I actually looked into buying it, but I had zero money. That's a whole nother story. There's stories all over the place, that you accumulate, sort of crossroads in life. But I thought I could do this way better than they could. And so I left and I started my own. And it's not that I'm not loyal. I'm a very loyal person. But they were, I could see that, I was at my limit with these guys had nothing more to offer, no solutions. We were having problems with the product, and their answer was always, just keep using it, just keep using it, So, I have this, Jim Rohn says, we don't get what we need in life, we get what we deserve, regardless of how bad we need it, And so in the beginning of my career, I would go on sales calls and not get the job. And you're very frustrated, when that happens. You feel like, it's not right. I didn't get the job. I did my best. I worked hard. I gave them the estimate. I asked them if they had any questions. But you just aren't good enough yet.
Yep.
And so we don't realize that at the time. Sometimes we want to make excuses or blame or whatever, but you're just not good enough yet.
Yeah.
And if you just, work on being good enough, and sometimes that involves going back to the drawing board, recreating your business model, creating better products, getting better people, better training, whatever it is, all of those things combined, because there's a synergistic effect. When you fix one thing in a business, but there's 4 or 5 critical functions, the business rises to the level of its weakest critical function. So you could be, for example, you can be great at production and great at sales, but if you suck at marketing,
which I would say most companies are bad,
yeah,
right?
Or maybe you're great at marketing, but you suck at sales, and you're good at production.
Yeah.
Well, you suck at sales. That you can only rise to the level of your weakest critical function. So when you fix one thing, okay, a little bit happens. You fix another thing, a little bit happens. You fix another thing, whoa, you fix all the critical functions,
Yeah.
and it's amazing what can happen.
I think actually that's one of the most important lessons that I've learned from you, really, not only from hearing my brother say it to me, but also from the School of Entrepreneurship, is we had an amazing product and service. People were so happy, customers were thrilled that we were able to take their items and donate on their behalf, but not throw it away. But we were terrible at selling it. We were terrible at marketing it. And that's really where the synergy between Contractor Nation and Junk Luggers started to play, into full fruition is the fact that you're now able to help us market it in the way that we probably should have all along. So I 100% agree with you, the power of that, because the difference that it's made in my business in just 3-4 years is amazing.
Yeah.
Instead of getting 10% growth on a year-by-year basis, we're doing 35% growth. So I can definitely attest to that.
Another thing a theme that has worked for me in my life is don't quit. I'm 58 years old, and this year marks my 40th year in business. 40. And, I go to each year I have a class reunion for my high school class. We've been doing it now 4 years. Say every year let's have a class reunion. Why not, right? And so many of my classmates are retired or retiring.
Yep.
And I think, man, that's sad, or they've jumped ship, they changed careers a bunch of times, and you never really get to master anything. Mastery takes time.
Yeah.
And when you learn all the key things inside of a business, and you have all these connections and relationships and resources and experience, and you're not making those same mistakes, you're at a higher level, keep that going. And I'm in the basement waterproofing business, right? Their junk business, right?
Business, yeah.
Like, we're, these MBAs would think we're at the bottom of the economic food chain over here, and we're doing incredibly well. But the longer you stick with something, the more you can master it. Now, that being said, I do get bored. I don't like reliving the same year over and over. I don't mind working my butt off on something, to create a sales program or marketing, or production or whatever, and get in the weeds and everything. But I want to do it right and launch it, tweak it, get it to work, and then I'm on to something else. And I have my people continue to administrate this. Yeah. But mastery takes time, and it's amazing what you can do in one industry, one business, if you stick with it long enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that it's amazing that even after 40 years, you're still trying to get better. You have, when I researched you, usually I spend about an hour researching an entrepreneur, and you can find out a lot. I spent 2 hours on you. I know you. I've done School of Entrepreneurship, and I feel like I've only scratched the surface and how much mastery we're actually talking about, right? And one thing that I found amazing is just that you're an inventor. Like, you don't hear of people being inventors anymore. When you're an entrepreneur, you're basically looking for a system that is broken, that needs some sort of niche or fixing happening. How did you get into inventing?
I think all of us are inventors. We just maybe don't call it that. When you come up with a new idea, that's an invention, right? If you combine, something that your industry does with something that a different industry does, and you put it together, that's an invention, right? I have 32 patents, but I've come up with, 1,000 ideas. When you patent something, then they call that a real invention. But there's so many things that, that people invent, that I've invented. So, it's just like looking at a problem and saying, how do we fix this? And if it involves a physical product that I can patent, then I'll try to patent it so my competitors don't copy that for 20 years. And many of my important patents have expired, and they've been copied immediately, because they were valuable. Other patents that I have were never worth a damn from the beginning. I patented it thinking it might be big for us, and then it never was. But, it's solving problems. It's thinking outside the box. It's not being beholden to conventional wisdom. The way, I don't care what the way everybody always did it. I don't care what building code says. Some of my biggest breakthroughs were violating the building code.
And figuring it out, and then figuring out a way to make it not in violation.
Well, the building code has changed
Right.
because of me.
Oh.
Okay, and they couldn't deny that what they were saying to do was ruining houses, and so they've changed the building code in several cases. But so it's kind of I have a rebellious streak in me. I don't like authority. I feel like I hold myself to a higher standard, that no one else has to, rule over me with their authority, wherever that may come from. And it's probably, some self-bestowed government agency that, put themselves in charge of something and are overreaching their bounds. But yeah, so I say, in my business, we're actually building things, we're fixing things that other people built, and you start with science, you start with physics. What is the right thing to do? I mean, how does the physics work here? And how is someone ignored this and subsequently caused this problem? So how do we have a saying, our products aren't the best because they're ours because they're the best. So we could have chosen any approach, any product made out of wood, made out of metal, any shape, any manufacturing discipline, whatever, and we said, all right, what's the best thing to do? And we got that. We don't pre-decide this is what we do and go out and try to convince the world that it's the best, even when it's number 2 or number 3, or maybe it's not very good at all.
So you're involved with so many different things. How many businesses did you say you're involved in?
I think it's 32 different entities.
Obviously, some you're an owner, some, it all depends on what your involvement is, right? Based upon what their needs are, probably.
Right.
Correct?
So the businesses here in Connecticut I own, but I'm the partnerships, Junk Luggers is one, but many of the dealers that we have, I partner with around the country.
So when you have this much responsibility every single day, and still, if you guys can't see, you're still so calm, right? You're still so, everything about you is level-headed. How do you do that? What tricks are you doing in terms of organizing your life and budgeting? For me, my whole day could be phone calls and emails if I let it. So I force myself to have very specific times. Is there anything that you've learned along the way to keep it so you're in control of your destiny versus other people telling you what you should be doing with your time?
Well, so I said earlier, you don't scale, right? So I don't scale, and I have so many hours in a day, and if you try to use too many of them working and trying to keep up, you're doing your job wrong. Just think of it that way. If you can't do your job well in, let's call it 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, you're doing it wrong.
Yep.
And what you need to do is make your job smaller until it's the size that you can do it well.
Yep.
Okay? So what you got to do is delegate and empower people around you to take parts of your job. Make yourself obsolete. You never will, but just pretend you're trying to make yourself obsolete. Okay. So, yeah, and I have some business owners that, they live in Florida, right? And they check on their business every once in a while and, get on a Zoom call now and again and check on it. But they're, I'm not sure I recommend that. It depends what season of life you're in. If you're, in late stage in life and you just want to ride this business out for income and, that might be fine. But you're probably not going to grow as well as you can with that approach. But get good people around you. So this is a really key thing. Some business owners say, I can't find good people, or the people I have are, they can't do it. Well, you know what? There's good people out there. They just ain't working for you.
Right.
Okay? They're working for somebody else. So I've seen business owners that persistently and consistently have these problems that they can't attract good people. If they do hire somebody that's really a superstar, they leave. Why is that? Well, it's your fault. You are not the kind of person they want to work for. So what happens is the good leaders hire people and they do a better job of hiring. They hire good people, some great people, a lot of good people, and once in a while they make a bad hire. But the bad hire realizes, I can't get away with my shenanigans around here, and they get held accountable and they leave. Okay, so the good leaders wind up with the good people. Meanwhile, the bad leaders hire a bunch of people, but they make bad hires. They hire a lot of good people, and once in a while they manage to hire a superstar, but the superstar says, this leader, he doesn't have his act together. Yeah. He has no vision. He can't even take care of himself. He can't manage his own affairs. His life is a shambles. He's gossiping, about one of his team members. What's he saying about me? He can't execute. He doesn't fulfill his promises. He doesn't communicate. He yells at people, right? He has no plan. He changes his plan every day. Whatever your issues are, right? And then the good people say, there's no future for me here. I'm leaving. Wow. So the bad leaders wind up with the bad people. The bad people stay because the bad people can't get a job anywhere else, and they stay with the bad leader. So the bad leader has the bad people and the good leader has the good people. So work harder on you than you would do on your job as a leader, right? So you need to be the kind of person that other people want to follow. They say, he's got a plan. He has a vision. He's a nice guy. He doesn't yell at me. He communicates. He's got his own life in order. He
cares about his family, cares about his coworkers.
Yeah, he's loyal to his people. He cares about us. He provides a good place for us to work. He doesn't blow up. He takes responsibility for when things go bad instead of blaming others. All these things that people say, I will dedicate my life to this company. There's no reason for me to leave. And I have people that have been here 30 years, 25 years, lots of them. And they make very little mistakes. You don't have to micromanage them. You don't have to manage them at all. They know what's going on. They know what's got to be done. We all trust each other. There's no jockeying for position like a new team would, And so that makes your job a lot easier. And now I can move on to new things, right? Because the old thing is taken care of. I don't have to keep rebuilding.
And they don't feel neglected. They feel empowered to continue to grow.
Yeah. So you put good people in charge of pieces of the business, and they're in control, but you retain responsibility.
Yep.
Okay. They're controlled day-to-day, activities. So then you can move on to new things and grow the thing. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. That's exactly what I feel like this podcast is all about. It's like we were talking about before. Something about me as an entrepreneur, like I can't be okay with comfortable. Like I need change. I need something exciting in my life. And I feel like when I hear you talk about it, I feel like the future is bright for entrepreneurship in general because there's more opportunities than ever out there. Obviously, you didn't learn how important people were right from the start, correct?
Right.
You've had a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
You've had people that have probably stolen from you or stole ideas and went other places. As someone who's just starting a business, and obviously I've only done a fraction of what you've done in terms of entrepreneurship. I've only been in the game for 10 years, but I've also realized how important people are. When you put this association together, how much of a game changer was that in your business?
Well, in the beginning you make mistakes. Like I remember one time we had these vans that we were working out of. Today we work out of these giant trucks, right? But we had these little vans, and we had $300 vans. It's all we could afford, $600 vans. So we bought this van, new one, for $4,000. It was used, obviously, and it was like the queen of the fleet, the pride and joy, right? We just had it. It was blue. We had it painted white for our company, and it comes in, right? And the first day, this kid loads the stuff in the back. He's been with us like 3 weeks, right? And this wheelbarrow handle is sticking out the back, and he whips the back door closed, and the wheelbarrow handle goes right through the window, and the glass shatters all over. Well, I blew up at the kid.
Of course.
I was so upset, and I yelled at him in front of everyone else. And, a couple weeks later, he quit. So I remember that had an impact on me. Like, okay, I embarrassed him. And it was a simple mistake, but that's what I get. It was my fault for hiring 18-year-old kids
Yeah.
to be contractors,
And nothing was going to go wrong.
Right. So, but you learn those lessons along the way. And, I think you got to make believe everybody has a sign around their neck saying, make me feel important.
Yeah.
Make me feel important. If I have a job, if I'm 22, 28, 38, whatever, if I go to the job and I feel important, like I feel good about myself when I walk out the door at 5 o'clock or whatever time, I'm going to stay because I'm important. They appreciate me, they train me, they invest in me, they acknowledge me, they appreciate, they communicate to me I'm worth telling what's going on. He smiles at me. My work is important. They're trying to make me more valuable. Like, I feel important here.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay. If I don't feel important, for a lot of reasons, you don't talk to me, you don't communicate with me, you don't invest in me, you don't train me, you yell at me, you don't acknowledge when I do good. Any of those reasons, I'm out, right? So, make me feel important. They have a sign around their neck that says, make me feel important, and that's what, a leader needs to do, right? So in leadership, it's not about the work that you do. It's about the work that the team does. And that's your job every day. So that is the transition, we call it in the School of Entrepreneurship. And by the way, that's at thesoe.com, thesoe.com, the schoolofentrepreneurship.com. And it's an online course that you watch a video a day, like a 10-minute video a day, and it goes on for 3.5 years, or if you watch one video a day. And there's written exercises and the whole thing. We spend, some of us, like I sent my daughter to college, it's $40,000 a year. I'm like, are you crazy? Right? And what does she learn? Useless things, in my opinion.
Socializing.
Yeah. And they try to indoctrinate her into, and the School of Entrepreneurship is $6,000 a year for you, a career you've already chosen. You're going to be in this career, right? Why wouldn't everybody just sign up and learn, right? But we think college is, necessary for kids these days, and yet we don't invest in ourselves. Like, this is nuts,
I think just going back to people in general, right? You have this insane campus. Is that what we're calling campus?
Yeah.
And you have how many buildings on the campus?
We have 9 here and one about an hour away.
And we're in building 1 right now.
Yeah.
This is where you work. And you gave us a tour. And one of the things that stand out to me is no one was shocked to see him. When you walk around Junk Luggers headquarters and I introduce everyone and I let them see everyone, in real life, you see that they trust you, right? Most of the time, when a super successful entrepreneur walks into the building, everyone stops what they're doing.
Right.
And they try to look busy, right? But everyone looks so natural, and I think that what that really is showing, it's attesting to how hard you work on culture. One of the nicest things that I think I saw today so far, and it was the first thing that I told you, is you've got a full parking lot. You don't see that anymore in these large campuses with these huge corporations because everyone works from home. But here, obviously, some people work from home, some people work from here, but my guess is they want to work from here because you create this award-winning culture. Do you mind just talking about, obviously people is so important, but how culture plays a part in your decision making?
Yeah, I think it comes from the top, right? But the leader sets the tone for the business in so many ways, literally by, your presentations and your expectations and how you conduct yourself. People are watching, right?
Yeah.
And, but for me, we have so many employees and so many departments, and I don't even see many of them. They see me, they hear my voice in various methods, but it's like your managers, right? So if the leader can work with, a group of 12 managers or 6 or 3, and then they can be, carry that culture, and then the leader's watching, right? and he's available. Like an employee can come past their manager to me and say, man, you got to know this. This is like, something's bad is happening. So we kind of have an open culture, but we trust each other. It's, my building here, we remodeled various departments into themes like Disney World. We have a tree house, a tree fort space. So for example, the tree house has 26 different stations. And I don't know if you're going to show some B-roll here, but different, they're at different heights and different, they have all their own workspace, but it's still open and collaborative. So, nobody's holed up behind an office with their door closed, right? It's very collaborative. We have this 50s cafeteria, 50s diner kind of look at cafeteria. We have a space station theme for one place, has 10 stations. We have this space we're in now, it's called the Forge and Anvil. It's a vintage industrial theme. We have a 1880s mining town theme called Boomtown. We have the front area is like a modern glass and metal look. So we have all these different workspaces to try to make it fun to work at. We know that we're competing with other employers for the best employees. And when you hire somebody, we want them to stay longer at our company than they would at the average company, hopefully forever, but sometimes that doesn't happen with different things going on in people's lives, but we want them to stay here longer because turnover is very expensive. If all your people left, you got nothing.
Yep.
And if you hire all new people, you're starting over again. And so I don't want to start over again. So I invest pretty heavily in your facility and physical plant. But so I started this blog called Think Daily in 2009. So you can go to thinkdaily.com, sign up. It's absolutely free. Very short message of the day. And there's another one called Think Daily for business people. So it's 2 messages that go out each day. And so I've been writing, basically 500 messages a year for 13 years. And in that way,
500 messages.
Yeah.
Wow.
In that way, my people can hear my voice, right? And what's valuable to me, how I think, what's important, how we should think, how we should behave, And I think that's been an important part of. But now, there's, 20,000 people that get this each from all over the world that get Think Daily. But I make sure my employees get it, so that's.
Yeah, I get it. And when someone signs on to our new company, we sign them up also.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. First of all, I totally agree. I hear your voice when I read it. A book I recently read was called the Matthew McConaughey book, Greenlight. I don't know if you read it, but it's amazing.
Okay.
And when you read the book, you read in Matthew McConaughey's voice. He has a very distinct voice. And when I read Think Daily every morning, I literally hear it in your voice because you have such a distinct tone and voice to you. Super powerful. And, it takes me a minute to read. And it's amazing how many times our general manager, Pete, or Lon, our sales director, will send it out to his department.
Yeah.
Super powerful message by Larry for you to think about. And that, you're right, it sets the tone for the day.
Yeah, and I'll never share anybody's email address. I never have, never will. Never try to monetize it, never market to anybody. It's pure, just me putting it out there in the world. And I really believe in karma, right? And if you put good stuff out in the universe, it's going to come back to you. Even if nobody's watching, nobody's looking, nobody even knew. One of the things you think this is crazy, right? So, people think, oh, I'm at the top and super successful and everything. I go around my neighborhood cleaning up trash.
I love that.
I put, I'm comfortable in my old jeans and a t-shirt, and I go around with garbage bags by myself sometimes. Sometimes I take my stepson Liam, he's 7 years old, and we're just going on the side of the road, cleaning up cans and bottles and whatever nasty stuff people throw out the window and filling up garbage bags.
No one's recording you.
No.
No one's telling you to do this.
No. And I just feel like, first of all, somebody's got to do it. It's the right thing to do, but, it's something about integrity, like living in integrity, right? And you know, I think that today, people, you know, in the digital age, people are removed from the physical world.
Absolutely.
Too much. And maybe, you know, some people might be calling me, you know, an old codger, or, you know, somebody who's living in the past or something. Call it what you want, but I don't know. I don't think the metaverse is ever going to replace the real reality, you know. And human beings were made for the physical world. We're made for the real world, right? And believe me, I love technology that can accelerate what you're doing, but don't forget, you know, don't get lost in it, you know, and shut your devices off and come back, get out in the woods, get outside, get with other people, you know, have face-to-face conversations, you know. And leadership, this is, I think, an important lesson. You know, sometimes you write an email or send a text, gets out of context real quick, you know, but the voice is an incredible instrument. You know, how you say something, you know, like your voice, it needs to come to to stay in the communication. And that's a very important tool for a leader, to use your voice.
Yeah, a lot of people, they're, you know, now we're reaching out to all these different entrepreneurs all around the country to interview them for this podcast. And a lot of them were like, I could do a Zoom call. And that's really my only, my guideline is I want to do it in person. I want this human interaction. I feel like this almost feels like ancient. And what are we doing? We're talking in person, staring each other in the eyes, and we're recording at the same time. And I feel like it's so important. I feel like as a leader for my generation, the importance of teaching this to my daughter, to the next generation.
Yeah.
Go see your friend. Don't just FaceTime each other.
Yeah.
Go have an adventure together. It's not about destination, it's about the journey. And I feel like how powerful we've now gotten some knowledge from Larry. Millions, in my mind, millions of dollars worth of ideas. And we've only been doing this for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Imagine if other entrepreneurs around the world spent more time learning from modeling their masters. I just think it's so powerful.
Yeah, you know, and we're having a cup of coffee. I mean, there's something about, you know, having a meal with somebody, or, you know, spending time and just ask questions and listen. If you're a leader and you got an important, you know, somebody who's important, which all your employees are important, but, you know, as you grow, you can't do it with everybody. But, you know, just go ask them about their life, ask them about their, you know, their dreams and their, you know, what they're doing and why they're doing it, and, you know, and you know, get a little deep with people and share and be human, you know. And then this person says, you know what, Zach took an interest in me. Hey Zach, do you have any openings? You know, I mean, what is your company growing? Do you need, like, all of a sudden, right? Or people that you already hired, you know, they understand you better and you're communicating better, right? You have a relationship, and that needs to stay in leadership, you know.
I agree 100%. I think what I heard you say before about karma, I mean, you're not getting anything out of that. You're just doing it because you know that if you spread the knowledge that you've learned over your life, that in some way it will make someone else better, and maybe that person will make my life better, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you know, I just thought of a story, in-person meetings, you know, when I grew up, the Russians were, you know, we had nuclear arms race and pointing nukes at each other, and, you know, they were doing drills in school, getting under your desk, like, I'm not sure that would help, but, you know, and it's like this unsolvable problem. And then Ronald Reagan came, and what did he do? He called Gorbachev, and he built a relationship with him. He went over there, he visited. He had Gorbachev come here.
Wow.
And he built a relationship, like a friendship, literally a friendship. And he took Gorbachev to a grocery store.
Wow.
And Gorbachev wept at the abundance of different foods and fresh produce and all options and choices and abundance that we had. And he realized, There's something here. It's not about our system is better than theirs. Look what's happening. And you put this together with their relationship with Reagan. He had him out to his ranch in California. And all of a sudden, right, the Cold War is over. And Russia breaks up into parts, right? You know, so you've got to talk to people. You know, take your biggest problem, right? The person, if it's a supplier, if it's a key manager or something that you have the most angst, some unresolved, problem, and just take them to lunch.
I love that.
You know, and don't even try to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Just talk.
Yeah, just see that they're a human person.
Yeah.
And make sure you realize that, like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I did make a mistake and I thought he was a complete dick, but he's actually a good guy.
You know, when we look at our problems, as you grow to maturity, if you gain wisdom, you can see where you caused them.
Yeah.
You know, if an employee makes a mistake, well, you hired them. You did not find this out about this person before you hired them. So it's your mistake. It's your fault, right? So we're all responsible, whether we like to think so or take that responsibility or not. So, another thing is, I learned from Brian Tracy, it's a very simple idea, is never get upset about something you can't change, like something in the past. So you can't change the past. You can reinterpret it. Wayne Dyer said, it's never too late to live a great childhood. Even if you lived a bad one, you can go back and reinterpret it. Oh, well, actually, that was better. That made me better. Well, I actually survived that, or I learned to be tough, or whatever. But if something is over and I can't change it, why do I want to make it worse by getting my blood pressure up, by yelling at people, destroying relationships? And I had a guy make a mistake, an employee, that without getting into detail, cost millions of dollars. And I didn't fire him.
Wow.
Because it was an honest mistake.
Wow.
That's
so powerful.
So if something happens bad, don't make it worse by freaking out.
Yeah.
Just say, all right, well, we can't change that. We've been working on this project for 3 months and he just blew it up. Okay, now if he did it on purpose or he's mean-spirited or, whatever, sabotaged it, okay, well, we got to get rid of this person and, But in the end, I would say walk lightly through the world, Don't it's not worth, stress and going home being pissed off and kicking the dog and yelling at your wife and and just making your life miserable, right? Just say, okay, well, we learned something and we'll go at it again tomorrow. And besides, did you think everything would go well? Did you really think everything would go well? Come on. You're going to take a couple steps forward and bam, get slapped in the mouth. You're going to take a couple steps forward and get whacked down, right? And that's how, when you're a leader, you're a problem solver in chief. I was saying shit flows uphill. Water flows downhill. But bad problems that no one else can solve or will or wants to or stuff, they come to your desk.
Wow.
You're the leader. So you're the problem solver in chief, and you get the stuff that no one else can solve. And when you wake up expecting that, I'm not saying it's fun all the time, but you say, all right, well, that's my job.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
That's it.
Right?
Exactly.
You're willing to do things that others won't do.
Yeah. We have a saying at the School of Entrepreneurship that an entrepreneur spends the first part of their career being desperately underpaid, so that if you get it right, that's a big if, okay, that you can spend the last part of your career being wildly overpaid. And so, results, and particularly financial results, don't come in tidy little 12-month taxable packages, right?
Yeah.
They come like, I lost money. I broke even. I lost money. I broke even. I made a little. Now you're in year 6. Oh, now I can feed my family. Year 7. Oh, wow. I made 2 years income in 1 year. Year 8. Oh, I made 4 years income in 1 year. You know, year 20. I made 17 years income in 1 year. And now your job is to string those years together without screwing it up.
Right.
Don't get all high on your horse and being reckless and forget about the things that got you there and all that. And that's what I'm talking about. Don't quit, right? Longevity, right? So when the hockey stick appears, don't screw it up now. String those years together, right? And you're not being paid for what you did that year. You're being paid for all the sacrifice at the beginning, right? And you're learning. But if you don't learn the lessons, you stay at the bottom forever. And that's a lot of entrepreneurs. You know, they never get it right. They're just repeating the same mistakes over and over.
And I feel like, again, I know we keep talking about it, but that's the most powerful part about School of Entrepreneurship, is you teach people who have really, they've got great craftsmanship, or they've got a good idea, they just don't know how to take it to that next level. You know, that's where I feel like that the School of Entrepreneurship is so powerful to get you to the next level where you can start appreciating. And I also wonder if this is why when someone wins the lottery, they always end up blowing it, or, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's your identity, right? I mean, you know, I think we are here to make a contribution to other people, right? And in fact, and I've been developing this idea over recent years, and it takes a long time to come to this. Is like, why am I even here on this earth? You know what I mean? It's like this. People that are lost ask that question, you know, early. But even those of us that think we know what we want and we're going for it, after a while you start to say, you know, what is the point of all this, right? So I've developed, for me, my personal mission statement is an extraordinary life of shared experiences. Right? So I want to do great things, but I want to share with other people, right? So one of the things I do is race motorcycles in Baja. And you could watch Into the Dust movies on YouTube. Into the Dust. And there's 4 movies about that, that are about what we do, what I do there. And I bring people with me, right? My customers and their wives, you know, I bring like 4 people, different people to each race, and it's a whole experience down in Baja. They've never been there, and you know, I know my way around. I've been there, you know, 25 times and racing, but an extraordinary life of shared experiences. But I think that we have a moral obligation and responsibility and duty to be producers. And where does that come from? It comes from the fact that we are consumers. Because if I'm going to live a high standard of living because of her effort and his effort and the effort of millions of other people, from mining stuff out of the ground to making products to shipping them to retailing them to getting them to my door to make my life better, then I should do my part, right? I should use what God gave me, my talents, my ambitions, my energies, my life, to make a contribution to other people. And I don't mean it in an altruistic way. I mean it in, you know, people that sit home all day and don't do anything are not very happy in the end. They think they are. And there's people at the bottom of the economic spectrum who do not produce anything for anybody, and they're not very happy. But there's people at the top of the economic spectrum. If I built a business and it got bought out, right, and I get millions of dollars and I go sit on a beach somewhere, it's my duty to continue to use my talent and my experience and what I've learned and my resources and my relationships to continue to make a contribution to the world, right? And there's people, you know, that retire because they can. Oh, you know, the union says I could retire now. I've worked for 24 years and I get this much pension and I could live off that. that's an example, another example.
Yeah.
So people at the top and the bottom of the economic spectrum that may not be contributing, I think that's not what we're here for, right?
People need purpose. They need fulfillment. They need it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what do you do?
And that's what keeps me going, right? In a business, being an entrepreneur in America in 2022, what more could a human being want? This is the greatest thing ever, right? We're the king. As soon as you print your first business card, you put the crown on your head. You're the king. Like, you call all the shots.
Yeah.
You get to express your creativity and live with the results.
Yeah,
if you're wrong,
right.
you get
Sure.
you get punished to the point of bankruptcy. Then you're done, right? But if you can make it work, you get to tell people what to do. And I mean to ask them what to do, work with others. You get to make all the money if it works, and then use that money to invest in new things and other things. Like, wow, this is the greatest life anybody could ever imagine. And think about the course of human history, right? And we feel good, right? You feel happy about what you're doing because you're making a contribution. When something finally works out, all the dark times and the problems you had to solve and the sweat and tears to get there, and you appreciate it so much. You're happy, right? Satisfied with your contribution, and that only you really know. And you're not looking for validation from anybody else. We get some of that sometimes, but like, it's a matter of
It's inside.
Inside, right? Integrity. And you keep going. So I could have retired years and years ago, but I'm still here because this is who I am. I feel like, not everybody has the same gifts. And I was gifted with, ambition and the things that, were necessary for me to go on my journey. And we'll all have a little different form of that journey as entrepreneurs. But, I'm not here, in the end, you can't take anything with you. We've all heard that before. But if you really think about it, we can't take this stuff.
No.
We can't take the money. All we're going to do is leave behind footprints and in people's minds. He helped me. He was a good guy. He enabled this. The world is a better place as a result of him being here. And so, yeah, we want to make money. I want to make money as much as anybody. But why? Because if I make money, that means the world is telling me you're doing something right. You're serving us in a way that we value. And
then you're able to create these experiences for all of your loved ones and friends and coworkers.
Yes, and invest in things that are going to make the next generation of America as free and have as much opportunity that you had. That's my personal kind of thing at this moment. Is I'm worried that America is, we're turning our back on the things that made us great. And free market capitalism, hands down, is the way that our standard of living got to where it is. Not everybody is equal, because not everybody, gives an equal contribution to others. But as Tim Ferriss said, the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed.
Yeah.
And so some people are going to achieve certain levels of whatever, if it's economic prosperity or it's, a certain level of freedom, or, I live here, I live this way, or whatever. Not everybody's going to get there at the same time, but it's a good thing that somebody is, because that shows the rest of us, oh, it's possible, we can do it too. And with the internet, we can all learn how it's done. And at this point, how to do anything is known. It's not the haves and the have-nots. It's the wills and the will-nots. It's the wills and the will-nots. So, it's available to everybody. And so anybody that has this attitude of lack or victimhood or scarcity is just, their mindset is the problem. It's not any of those things, So it's a great time to be an entrepreneur, and it's good times, and we have to learn to appreciate the journey, because let me tell you, when you make your first $1 million in a year, and you said your whole life, man, if I could just 1 year make $1 million, I'd be set. No, you won't. Because, you're always looking for the, what else can I do? What else? How else can I have fun? What's the next mountain to climb? And that's great, So let's keep going, keep making a contribution using what you learned.
I love it. If you could have a billboard anywhere in the world, what would it say and where would it be?
It would be everywhere, but it would say believe in yourself. I think that the story of people is the story of them selling themselves short.
Yeah.
When we're kids, we think we can do anything, and then we're told no, you can't, you shouldn't, you won't, you're not, other people are privileged, or it's all these negative messages to kind of hold you down into what they want you to be, and release all that and say believe in yourself. If anybody can do it, then anybody can do it. That means you can do it too. So you could do anything you put your mind to if you want it bad enough. So that's the starting point of all achievement, and it says that in Think and Grow Rich. The starting point of all achievement is desire. So, and that's a talent in my view. You have to want it in order to go for it and work hard for it and be persistent when things get hard. So you got to want it bad. So I think people should move in the direction of their desires. I want to do this, I want to do that. And there's a lot of young people who don't know what they want. And I would advise you is try things. Get a job here, get a job there. Oh, I don't like that. Okay, get a job there, get a job there. Find something that you love to do, right? And then when you find it, go hard in that direction and exclude everything else. Right now, we're in a culture where people like to keep their options open, right? Nobody wants to commit to anything. But without commitment, you're going to be a blah person your whole life, right?
You average at a lot of things.
Yeah, you got to go deep in one thing. And in order to do that, you got to exclude everything else. Could you do that? Yeah, but that's not really, no, get rid of it. It's not an option. And in the end, like for me, long ago, I've given up any backup plan. There's no backup plan because I'm in the right place, doing the right thing. And if I have a struggle, I just got to figure it out. But I'm not always thinking, well, maybe I should do this. Well, maybe I should do that, right? The sooner in life, and I was lucky that I found sort of first it was building homes, then it was fixing them. I found what I would spend the rest of my life on early. And I have that compound interest that comes from focus and commitment and dedication and indomitable will at one thing, and you make a huge mark in the world.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Usually at this point I ask if you have any questions for me. I don't know if I can answer it, but I'll try.
Well, so you have 100 employees. What are you most proud of?
So I went to one of your conferences once, and I'll never forget how many people I met that shook my hands and told me how Larry Janesky made them a millionaire. And my goal in life is to do the same thing. Create more people that have this sense of empowerment and this inner desire that I don't have to be there. I'm not in New York City right now. I'm in Seymour, Connecticut. And I know all of my senior managers, my managers are all hustling like I'm there because they care about the end result as much as I do. So my goal is to not only empower the people around me, but create this sense of wealth and purpose. There's so many people lost right now that just scroll on social media all day, every day, and oh, look how amazing this person's life is. My goal is that all the people around me feel like there's nothing better than this option.
Yeah, when you're doing the right thing, putting good stuff out in the world, not knowing where it will lead to, not having any expectation of a return, but it will come back. It certainly will come back. And when I started Think Daily, I didn't know what it would lead to.
Right.
Or there's a lot of things I've done, and as you go through life, everything that you've done and experienced and learned is like a platform to the next thing. And you never know. Like, my carpentry experience has been very valuable, right, to do so many different things. And today I'm like what's called a building scientist, right? So that means you understand how heat and moisture flow through a building. And, you know, it was just so much easier when I, you know, spent years toiling away, not really making much money, making a lot of mistakes, you know, building houses. But, you know, what you're learning from other people in podcasts and, you know, all the context you're getting about, you know, how does the world really work, and, you know, how do people really think, and what makes the difference it's going to make a huge difference for you to make a contribution to others.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Today we have more small businesses and solopreneurs than ever before. And this distributed workforce, you know, the people working from home or starting their own businesses, and now they can move to
wherever.
Better weather, better, freer states, lower tax states, wherever they want, near their family, all around the world, whatever. And that's what's driving our business, you know, housing, right?
Yeah.
People need housing, and they care about their houses more than ever because they're there 24/7, right? So,
how do people follow you? What is the best way if they want to keep up with Larry?
Thinkdaily.com, you know, is probably the best way, because anything big that happens, I would announce it in a little comment box at the bottom. I'm not a big social media guy because I'm really focused, you know. Don't know how to turn the TV on in my house, and you know, really don't post on social very much. Once in a while, my motocross or something, but some people have subscribed for 10 years, and it's the first thing they read every morning. It's usually short, you know, paragraph, you know, something like that, but the ideas build on each other.
And you have a book that people can get on Amazon?
Yeah, so The Highest Calling. So if you're an entrepreneur, get The Highest Calling, and there's an audio and the book, and I recommend getting both, honestly. And you can get them on Amazon. If you have any trouble, go to LarryJanesky.com, and you can find it there, or contact us. And but The Highest Calling, it's a story about an entrepreneur who's struggling and eventually makes it work out. And the last paragraph of the book, or sentence of the book, is that when you create a successful business, you improve the lives of hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people. There is no higher calling. And so that's, you know, basically what the book is about. But it's a very emotional book. That's why I read it to you on the audio myself. And yeah, there's moments, right? And that, you know, hey, you can't separate life and business. You know,
I mean, that's when I really realized, like, how deep of a person you really are, when you can hear the emotional, how it brings you to that emotional state just by reading it. And you wrote the book. So.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, semi-autobiographical, you know. You know, so, yeah, you know, business and life are intertwined. And, you know, your business should support your life, not be your life.
Yep.
But at the same time, you know, it's a significant part of your waking hours. I mean, if your business is going well, you're going to have a better life, right? If your business is going badly, you're not going to be a happy camper. So, yeah.
So that wraps up episode 8 with Larry Janesky. Thank you so much. So many powerful things. Larry just was so kind with his time, and he just shared this all with all of you, just because he cares. And I think if there's anything you can learn from this, it's just give more to the world and don't have any expectations, because you've been such a inspiration to me, and just pushing me to continue to grow and be a stronger entrepreneur. So I just want to thank you so much for being so honest with your time and giving us a tour of the facility. And we thank you so much, and hopefully we can have you on again.
My pleasure. Great.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Thanks, Zach.